Most people don't set out with the intention to ruin their own lives. Yet the path to destruction is often laid with tiny, nearly invisible steps. Anonymous, there's a harsh, unspoken reality about married women that many men never notice. It's this truth that makes them such easy targets, not because they're fragile, or because they lack principles, but because human nature itself is wired for temptation. Nobody wakes up one morning thinking, "Today I'll betray everything I've built." No, it happens in the smallest, seemingly harmless moments. An innocent conversation, a lingering look, the way her heart beats a little faster when a message pops up from someone who isn't her husband. Psychologists have been examining this. For decades, they call it the gradual erosion of boundaries, one tiny step after another, one stray thought at a time until, one day she stands before the mirror and barely recognizes the woman staring back. So why are some married women so susceptible to being drawn in? More importantly, how do they justify it to themselves? That's precisely what we're about to reveal. Let's begin. 1. The unspoken void. Why some married women crave external attention. Great marriages are partnerships. You can't have a great marriage without being partners. Helen Mirren. At its strongest, marriage is a bond that endures the trials of time and the temptations life throws your way. But not every marriage remains unbreakable. Some women, despite the vows they've made, begin to crave attention beyond their relationship. And more often than not, it isn't purely about physical attraction, it's psychological. The biggest mistake people make is assuming that these women are desperate to escape. In truth, many are simply searching for something they've misplaced along the way. Humans are wired for connection, and women especially have a profound need for emotional closeness, not just physical proximity. Early in marriage, that intimacy is vibrant. The late-night talks, the secret glances, the feeling of being seen, it's intoxicating. But eventually routine seeps in, life becomes predictable, deep conversations are replaced by logistical chats about groceries and chores, passion fades into duty, and slowly she begins to feel invisible. This is when the danger quietly sets in. Dr. John Gottman, a respected relationship psychologist, says the silent killer in a relationship isn't conflict, it's indifference. When a woman senses she's no longer noticed, her subconscious starts searching for validation, often without her conscious awareness. People will do anything to avoid being lonely and lose themselves in the process. Mitch Albom, a compliment from a stranger, a conversation with a man who genuinely listens, a moment where she feels captivating against those tiny interactions feel like oxygen after years of suffocating. Marriage brings stability and responsibility, but the downside of stability is that it often suffocates excitement. In psychology, this is known as the Coolidge effect, the idea that novelty fuels desire. People, men and women, are drawn to the thrill of the unknown. So if a woman has been married for years, if each day feels identical, if every interaction seems scripted, even the faintest spark of something different can feel electrifying. That isn't that she doesn't love her husband, or that she's morally flawed, it's that she misses the rush of feeling desired. We are most alive when we're in love, but love is not only about being together, it's about being chosen over and over. F. Scott Fitzgerald. When a woman senses she's being pursued, when she feels she holds power over a man's desire, awakens a version of herself she believed had vanished, the younger self, the confident self, the effortlessly alluring self. Even without intending to cross a line, she might begin edging closer to it because, in those fleeting moments, she feels alive again. Another reason that often goes overlooked is the loss of social identity. Many women, once married, no longer feel like individuals. They become someone's wife, someone's mother, someone's caregiver. Her identity shifts from who I am to others. Before marriage, she was her own person, someone with ambitions, passions, mysteries. After marriage, she's defined by her roles: the supporter, the organizer, the one who holds it all together. While these roles can be beautiful, they can also feel suffocating. And when she stops recognizing herself as an individual, she may start gravitating toward interactions that make her feel separate from those roles. Sometimes that interaction appears in the form of another man. 2. The justification game. How the mind excuses what the heart has already decided. No one wakes up thinking, "I'll betray my marriage today." That's not how it works. When a married woman begins to engage in emotionally or physically risky behavior, it's never sudden. It's a slow, slippery slope, often rationalized long before it becomes real. Guilt is a crushing weight. So if she can convince herself that nothing she's doing is truly wrong, she doesn't have to feel that guilt anymore. How does this happen? At first, everything feels harmless. It's just a little attention, what's the harm? I'm just talking, it's not cheating. I'm just enjoying a moment. The human brain excels at self-deception. If something feels good but violates one's values, the mind will generate excuses to ease the tension. Psychologists call this cognitive dissonance, the discomfort that arises when actions contradict beliefs. To silence that discomfort, mind reshapes reality. The easiest person to fool is yourself. Richard Feynman. A woman who was once fully committed starts playing mental games. She downplays it's only flirting. I'd never act on it. She shifts blame. If my husband were more attentive, I wouldn't need this. She compartmentalizes. This has nothing to do with my marriage, it's just for me. But here's the trap. The more she justifies, the further she goes. For many women, the first betrayal isn't physical, it's emotional. That's what makes it so insidious. With physical infidelity, the boundaries are obvious. But with an emotional affair, everything blurs. Late-night texts, confiding in someone else, sharing thoughts she should reserve for her husband. At first, she insists, it's just talking. No harm done. But emotional intimacy is potent. Once she shares her heart with another man, she's already begun to detach. Cheating isn't always physical. The moment you start keeping secrets, you've crossed a line. Unknown. This is the real danger. When deep emotions get involved, physical boundaries start to crumble. The I deserve this justification, the final and most dangerous rationalization is the belief that I deserve this. At this stage, she no longer questions whether her actions are wrong. In her mind, they're justified. I've sacrificed everything for this marriage, I deserve to feel alive again. He's ignored me for years, why should I care anymore? I've been faithful all this time, and it's gotten me nowhere, what's the point? This is the point of no return. Here, the connection she has with the other man feels more authentic than her marriage ever did. Her mind has convinced her that crossing the line isn't betrayal, it's justice. And once she believes that, nothing can hold her back. The reason married women sometimes become easy prey isn't because they're weak or immoral. It's because the mind will always find ways to justify what feels good. It begins with small excuses and tiny rationalizations, but if left unchecked, those thoughts inevitably lead to action. And once the line is crossed, there's no going back. 3. The breaking point, the subtle trap of habit. The chains of habit are too light to be felt until they're too strong to be broken. Samuel Johnson. Every story reaches a moment of no return, a point where there's no more innocent flirting, no more just talking, no more rationalizing. And the scariest part, most women don't realize when they've reached that moment until it's already too late. Psychology calls this threshold theory. The reason people who swore they'd never cross a line eventually do. The hardest part isn't the act itself, it's doing it the first time. The first time she sends a message she knows she shouldn't. The first time she meets up just as friends. The first time she feels his hand linger and doesn't pull away. When everything changes. Because after that, the second time feels easier. What we do repeatedly, we become. Aristotle. Soon, what once felt forbidden begins to feel routine. People tell themselves, I can stop whenever I want, but can they? Not really. Because once something sparks an emotional high, it becomes addictive. Neuroscientists have discovered that romantic and sexual attraction light up the same brain pathways as drug addiction, that dopamine rush. The feeling she didn't even know she was craving keeps pulling her back. At first, lying feels awkward. The first hidden message, the first fabricated excuse, the first racing heartbeat when her husband asks, "Who are you texting?" feels wrong, but the human mind is frighteningly adaptive. Over time, guilt transforms into strategy. She gets better at hiding things. He compartmentalizes so effectively that she stops feeling guilty. Eventually, she believes her own lies. And that's when everything spirals. The longer the secret lives, the harder it becomes to break free. She might promise herself, I'll end it next week, next month, soon. But weeks blur into months, and before she knows it, she's tangled in her own web. Here's the final shift. Once she goes too far, she stops seeing her marriage as her primary bond. Her husband becomes the other man. The real passion, the true intimacy, it all happens elsewhere at this point. Even if nothing physical has happened, her heart already belongs to someone else. And when that happens, there are only two endings. She gets caught, or she walks away, unable